Alright, this will be the beginning of my Gen tutorial. In this episode, I'm going to talk about some normals and some basic techniques. Not going to go too much into setups too much. I'm going to talk about both stances and what's good in them, what's not, what you should be using in the neutral game. Let's start with Mantis normals. Light normals and Mantis are all pretty good. Crouching light kick and crouching light punch, both great. You can link from crouching light kick. You can link from crouching light punch to standing fierce, which is important. You can link from standing light kick into standing medium punch. So I believe this is a one frame link and not really the best way to get damage. So those are both good. They chain into each other. Standing light punch has the same amount of frame advantage as crouching light punch, which I believe is +5. But it's not really hit crouchers very well though. So you're going to want to stick in your crouching light punch. They're basically the same normal though. Both have decent range. Mantis standing light kick is pretty bad. I believe it's neutral on hit and -3 on block. It's only really good if you want to go for a throw reset maybe, but really not great. I wouldn't really ever use this on purpose, only an accident. So next, medium normals. Medium normals are very important again because they're some of the best normals. So first, standing medium punch. You're actually +6 on hit and +4 on block. This is really good because, of course, frame traps, and you can do combos from it. So you can do standing medium punch, not in Ryu, but one of the easiest ones is just standing medium punch, crouching medium punch hands. Or standing medium punch, standing medium kick. And it doesn't work always consistently, or you actually standing medium punch, standing fierce, which does the entire combo to whatever you want. This is really important because you can also just walk forward a little bit. It has really great hitbox. Decent as an anti-air, but only from certain ranges. Not the best anti-air Gen has, but definitely decent. Yeah, so this is really important. On counter hit against this, you can actually combo into sweep or crouching fierce, but sweep is really the better option. Crouching medium punch is really good because it has great range or combos in the hands. It's probably Gen's best normal right now as of AE 2012. You know, it's huge, really big range. Buffable, so breaks focus, and this is hands is mostly safe on hit, with a few exceptions. Yeah, and then of course you can FADC it. Of course, regular version as well. So you can FADC it in the combo and get whatever you want after it. And of course you can do the classic Gen, which is crouch medium punch and super, whatever you want. Really good normal. Make sure to use this a lot. It actually only has pretty fast recovery, so definitely not really great footsie tool. Standing medium kick, also workable in the hands. This used to be Gen's button, like really fantastic to pressure them with. FADC-able, he had hands loops in vanilla, but ever since crouching medium punch became cancelable, it really has fallen out of popularity, especially in the game. It also does not do as much damage. That does 60. Crouching medium punch is 70. So you're gonna usually want to stick to crouching medium punch. The only reason you would want to use standing medium kick instead of crouching medium punch is because in certain ranges, crouching medium punch is not connectable if you can find that range. So I only got one hit there, but against the same range, I get full hits from standing medium kick. So in certain combos or in certain situations, you might want to use standing medium kick, but do keep in mind that although the same startup, it has I think 4 more frames of recovery, so it's very whiff punishable. It's more whiff punishable than crouching medium punch. I think they have very similar range, but you generally want to stick to crouching medium punch because it is just a little bit better. Crouching medium kick. Ooh, that was a crouching medium kick. Also buff on the hands. It's important because, well, this doesn't see a whole lot of use. It doesn't have as much range as these. It's not a great, like, it doesn't really actually hit his ankle. As you can see there, it's going through Ryu. But okay range, but not really great footsie tool. The best use for this is if you're in the footsie game, especially with super, and you really want to land that super. If you find that your opponent's not crouch blocking, you can just do walk up, crouching medium punch hands, crouching medium kick hand super if it does it low. That's a good option. Another option, you're basically not ever going to use this normal unless you have super, because there's also a target combo from crouching light kick into this. So you can do empty jump, Crouching light kick, crouching medium kick for the confirm, and then super for the damage, of course. Of course, you can kind of pressure with it too to kind of get it confirmed, especially with super. So you're not really going to be using this a whole lot. It's an okay normal, but not terrible. So the hard normals in Mantis, you got standing hard punch, which is your main combo tool. Linkable from crouching light punch. Oop. Okay. Okay. There we go. And standing light punch as well. Whoa. A little bit of lag on my capture card there. Linkable from crouching light punch, which of course in turn is linkable from crouching light kick to get the full confirm. And because standing medium kick is cancelable, you can basically get whatever you want. Hands. I use the piano method for hands if that's important. You can also use the slide method. Target combo hands is especially easy. So I can just get it. Yeah, I can just do it without even pianoing. But definitely, if you want to play again, make sure you can do crouching medium punch hands and standing medium punch hands. Like, 100% consistently. If you get EX hands sometimes, you just slam it on them, whatever, it's fine. It's not a problem. Like, it's as long as you can consistently get crouching medium punch, hard punch hands, and not have to worry about, like, getting EX a lot, you basically can... You have most of the tools you need to play again. Anyway, back to Fierce Normal. So this Standing Fierce links from crouching light punch. Oh. There. I'm sorry about that. The execution's not great. It also has a target combo standing medium kick, which is good. Has good range on it as well. And if you actually combo into this move, the follow-up light punch DP will not miss on anyone in the game ever. If you counter poke with the Standing Fierce though and get a target combo, occasionally it will miss because standing medium kick DP is not especially from max range. So as long as you combo into it, it will always work. You can also combo into hard punch, hard kick DP against some characters, but against most characters in the game, you can just do standing fierce, hard kick, dragon punch, which is good. Anyway, standing fierce is good. Crouching fierce is a really great poke. It's really good for whiff punishing as well, because some normals you can't whiff punish with sweep. So you can also whiff punish with standing fierce. Crouching fierce, my bad. So this really has good range, just good damage. It's good to kind of harass your opponent with. Make them respect your space. It's actually a very decent anti-air as well. So it can go, especially against far jump-ins, it can actually go under them, move you forward a little bit. So if you were to jump from here and press, I could actually just tag his jump in right there. So this is one against better anti-airs. It doesn't work from super close, but it's actually fairly decent. Standing hard kick, you know, has actually some of the best range against normals. I find the range where crouching fierce and sweep misses, standing hard kick will hit, pretty much. This is not the fastest normal. It does more damage than the rest of them, so it's not terrible to throw out sometimes. But it's pretty slow and can get whiff punished pretty easily. So it's, you know, not the greatest. It has good range though and good damage, so it's not awful. But you can use it if you want to. It's not a bad normal. Decent poke. Also does, yeah. So then of course Gen's really great normal sweep has huge range on it. And it's, of course, causes an impeccable knockdown, which is really good to set up Gen's really fantastic OP game. You can do a whole lot of different things. That's really important because it just has huge range, pretty fast, moves you actually forward the tiniest bit, but that's not really relevant. So if you're just walking around, your opponent's stand blocking, sweep him. That's all you have to do. That's just one of Gen's best footsie tools. Be careful with it because it is minus on hit, and if you do too close, they can punish you for it. And certain characters like Chun-Li can punish it on block anywhere with Ultra, so definitely be really careful about that, especially with opponents with good reactions. But it's great for whiff punishing things, great for just taking out if they're not stand blocking, really great for frame trap because of it. Like if you think they're going to try to walk back out of your frame trap, just sweep them. So that's really good. So those are Gen's standing Mantis normals. Standing and crouching Mantis normals. Gen's focus attack in Mantis is really, really good. It has huge range. Not quite clear, but he actually steps back a little bit. Not really relevant though. If he steps back, then you can of course get whatever combo you want. Has really great ranges to harass your opponent with. If you want to get back in there or get a combo maybe. That's really good. Of course, you know, it's standard focus attack basically. Has really exceptional range. And then so Mantis jumping normals. crouching, standing, jumping light kick and jumping light punch don't see a lot of use in most games because I don't think Mantis jumping light kick can really cross up, and if it did, it wouldn't be relevant. Jumping light punch, of course, is a lot of hits on. If you want to go for a throw reset, maybe it's good, but not really. You know, most jumping light normals in the game really aren't that special. Jumping medium punch has like an okay horizontal hitbox on it. You want to just kind of like tag them from over here. Wait. Yeah, so like that. Also not seeing a lot of use. Mantis jumping medium kick is what you're going to be using the most because it can cross up. Has a lot of hit stun on it, so that's really easy to combo from. So it's good, especially good if you want to fake cross them up or cross them up at all. It also has a really good air-to-air hitbox because it's also fairly down. Also just generally good jump in. Just a not a bad button to hit in the air. And then, so you have your fierce jump-ins, or your heavy jump-ins, which are jumping hard punch, which has a very good hitbox on it. Has a lot of hits on, of course. I believe it combos into ultra. Hit. Yep. So that's pretty good. I'd say it doesn't see the most use, but if you want to keep the Mantis jump arc and get the most damage from a fierce, then use that. Jumping hard kick in Mantis is basically only any in air-to-air. Especially if they're above you, so if you jump and then they jump and you press this, you hit them. I find this really suited to like dealing with things like Vega's wall dive. If they're really just abusing that and you can't find a way to punish it, just jump back hard kick, it'll hit them right out of the air. Has a great angle on it. There are some interesting gimmicks you can do with it, like, oh, I pressed the normal, but I threw. Or like, this. You know, it's okay. It hits standing opponents. Alright, so those are all the Mantis things. Another important thing in Mantis is a Kara throw from standing medium punch. So you can see throw, Kara throw, moves them forward a little bit. Not the best Kara throw in the game, but throws are really important against games that start Oki. So you definitely want to be utilizing that Kara throw. Also with standing medium kick I do, so might give you a little bit more range. Not Ken range or Vega range here, but it still does very good range because again it has a good, decent throw range on his own. And then Mantis specials are hands, of course. You can by pressing any button 5 times in a row. 5 there. You can piano it. I do not know how to slide, unfortunately. There is an EX version. There's actually combos with the sweep. Piano and EX is something I'm not good at. Alright, one more time. There we go. Combos into sweep. So that might give you some unique Oki options depending on what character it is. Not the best use of meter in my opinion, but if you really want to convert and get that extra stun or extra damage, then you can, of course, use that. And then, of course, hard punch hands is what you're going to want to be using most of the time. You can actually FADC these into combos. It's very important for against the aim you really want to convert and get that knockdown. Especially against characters you can combo into hard punch, hard kick dragon punch as you get a hard knockdown on that. Because then you can really start your mix-up game. It's a very important part of playing Gen. You know, you can really do hands from just about any handful normal. It's mostly safe on block. There are some situations where you can, as people know, where you can be punished on it. That basically is going to happen when you hit it at max range, as you can see like there. Because you still have the hands, and especially if they're crouching, because hands does not hit well on crouchers. So basically you can see if I do hands, there's like, it hits all over his body, but if he's crouching, it'll only hit, only the lower hands will hit. Which sounds kind of strange, but better if I show you. It doesn't really actually hit, but you can still cancel it, which is nice. Which does take me to hit. One of the main points of hands is, of course, not just breaking focus, and not just with punishing, but, of course, buffering into FADC and Super. Super, of course, is very good for again. Yeah, the other special move in Mantis is a Dragon Punch with kicks. So you have 3 versions, all different. Light Punch works. You can combo into Light Punch from target combo with everyone in the cast. There are no exceptions to that, so it works on everyone. That's your main combo tool. So your main B and B is this. Main B and B is this. What's up with me today? That's your main bread and butter combo. You're gonna get the most damage by crouching light punch, standing fierce. Of course, also good for the jump in. So, you know. Ooh. Careful, especially from cross-ups with this, because occasionally the target combo will miss. But that's not a huge deal, because you're not out of a terrible situation if they block the fears. Yeah, so that's yeah, so light punch, good, 6 hits, pretty easy to time. So that's a really important thing there. Not really great as an anti-air because it has basically very little invincibility. I think it has 3 frames of invincibility, but it's a 5-frame startup move. So not great to anti-air with. Mostly just use the combo tool. Sometimes you can bait crouch attacks with it. It does have a little bit. It is off the ground. Granted, also unsafe. A little trick with Gen is when they actually block your Dragon Punch, you can delay the next hit, like that. It will not hit on crouchers, but it'll sometimes mess up their timing, and you can actually go over them if they're crouching. That can kind of really mess up charge characters. Or you can just not do it at all. You actually recover very quickly from this. So it can kind of mess people. Hard Punch does not only hits on standing opponents, and standing fierce actually forces stand, but you cannot combo into Hard Kick Dragon Kick on all characters, only some, not Ryu. But what does work on most characters, as I said earlier, is standing fierce, hard kick DP, which does result in a hard knockdown, which can result in whatever you want it to. The other important thing about DPs is that you can actually do them at different heights. So I can do it really low, like that, and drop it, or I can do it really high. Which, depending on what you want to do afterwards, can be really important. That's not really something you should worry about until you're really getting into like the deep Gen setups that are important. But from this, if you just really good, does the best damage and a hard knockdown. Medium kick DP has no use. It doesn't have a hard knockdown, but also doesn't hit on crouchers. So any situation where you can land medium kick Dragon Punch, you can also land hard kick, and hard kick is better. It does more damage and hard knockdown. Anyway, so then that's the Mantis specials. Then you got your super, which in Mantis is probably the best super. One of the better supers in the game, in my opinion. Probably not, maybe not the best, but one of them. You can cancel into it from hands, as I just demonstrated. It's a free juggle afterwards, you get whatever you want. You can have a sweep for Oki. You can do it from a target combo. You can actually do a reset from it. You can dash under, which is risky but good. Or you can do this, which is the classic Gen thing, which is super into Ultra. To get really, like, well over 500 damage from basically maybe a whip punish or just footsies, or just trying to walk forwards, which is really important, of course. Also possible to standing medium kick, which is great. You can also just combo hard kick DP right from this, if you don't have Ultra at the time, to get whatever setup you want from that, and which does the best damage meterless, I believe. Yeah, so that's kind of Mantis. You want to be walking. Mantis is really good stance. Your kind of main stance is Gen. Really good normals. Really good jumping normals as well. Decent jumping normals, actually. This is all your combos are in the stance. There we go. Yeah, so this is it's just good to be in the stance as always. So the other stance you have is Crane stance. Crane stance has a set of very particular uses. It has a better walk speed, which is one thing, and a longer jump arc, which is actually quite very long, cross up from a lot of places on the screen. So as you can see, if I walk back and forth in this and in Mantis, I'm actually going faster in Crane. But Crane, you cannot buffer the normals into Mantis normals, so you can of course switch stances anytime and then go to Mantis normals, which can be a little bit difficult. You have to press that many more buttons. Yeah, see, I messed up there. But anyway, being able to fluidly transfer in these two stances is very important. As you can see, I'm Kara stance changing there on accident, which you can do by pressing Mantis, medium punch, and plink into kicks, which is just a little funny technique. Not useful at all. Crane, alright, so Crane normals are pretty bad. Standing live punch is the only thing that chains. It just chains into crouching light kick. Crouching light punch does not chain, as you can see. It does link. I believe it does not link either. I don't think you can actually do anything with this. I don't even know if it's 3 frames. You will never be using these. Crane crouching light kick is very odd. It launches, and you get a free juggle, so you can basically do whatever you want after it. I'd say the most popular thing to do after it is either switch to Mantis and sweep. If you want to stay in Crane, the best option is to just crouch a medium punch, and then maybe dash in. But the best way to probably is switch and then sweep, which you can confirm into sometimes. It's the best way to combo into hard knockdown. I think the only way meterless. This thing is actually not 3 frames, and it's actually -8 on block, so not really great to just throw out there. And it's very hard to confirm into it, because as you can see after 2, you can't always get the follow-up. It's just hard to confirm into it. Sometimes it misses. It's really not a consistent way to do it. There's some fancier stuff you can do that you can like stand switch into it. Those are all very difficult. I wouldn't really suggest using this. If you want to just punish with it sometimes just to get the hard knockdown, that's fine. There's really no problem with that. It's really just not a terribly good normal. Has a lot of recovery on it, so I wouldn't suggest using this too much. You can super from it though. You can super and then do whatever you want. Besides that, in Crane, your crouching medium punch is probably your best poke. Not bufferable into anything, but has good range. Your standing medium punch is an overhead. I think this overhead is really, really long range. I think it is the longest range overhead in the game. Is longest range standing overhead at least. But I could be wrong on that. So it does 100 damage, very good for an overhead. So just good to especially on wake up. You want to overhead them. 2 hits, which is really important, so to focus, or they only block 1, which will happen a lot. And the best thing about this overhead, besides having huge range, is on the trade-off being not particularly fast, it has really big range. But you're also right next to them, and you're at plus frames if it hits. So why this is important is because now you're at a space where you're right next to them, and you can do several different things. You can do overhead into crouching light kick, kind of like the classic high-low mix-up. So that from that range, the target combo will miss, like that. You can press standing medium punch to get frame advantage and catch them if they press a button. Start kind of frame trapping them. Or you can throw. You can also carrot throw, like I demonstrated earlier with standing medium punch or standing medium kick, whatever you find is easier. Oop. But generally, if you throw, that's a really great mix-up because it does put you right next to them. Is the thing. So this is a really good tool that again has, especially in this mix-up. So always walk forward a little bit, start your mix-up a little bit, and of course you can do the greatest, which is just overhead DP if you think they're going to reversal or something. Really great. Standing medium kick's probably your best poke in Crane. It's it has a lot of recovery actually, but it has okay reach. Kind of a little kick in the face, kick in the chest. Yeah, you're not really going to be using any Crane normals for footsies, unless they're unless for one of them, but that's kind of not even really a footsie poke. But if you're in Crane, you want to probably stick to crouching medium punch and standing medium kick to play any sort of footsies. But you should probably be managed for footsies as you have standing medium kick hands, crouching medium kick hands, crouching fierce, crouching sweep, standing medium punch buffered. It's just much better to be Mantis. You have no command normals in any of your stances, so you have no back forward normals, which is nice not to worry about. You also have no close normals. So as you can see, the close medium punch from here is always close medium punch, always close, always far medium kick, always crouching medium. Sorry. So that's very nice. You always get the normal you want. And then in Crane, your other normals would be crouching medium kick, which has a very specific use. It goes under fireballs. So I believe it goes under most fireballs in the game. I believe it doesn't go under Sakura's or Chun-Li's. But there's different resources you can find on the internet for this. But if you're just standing in the mid-range game and your opponent's throwing a lot of fireballs and you're in Crane walking around, or even in Mantis, you just switch and go under it. It does require some timing. There are times that you have to time it perfectly, especially against Guile's Light Punch Sonic Boom, and you have to go from standing. This is very difficult, but good to just kind of defer their fireball game. And then, so your last normals in Mantis are standing fierce, which this actually hits low on the first hit. I don't find a lot of use for this, because if I really want to go low, I might just go next to them and try to convert into a hit. But if you watch Xian, and one of the first rules about Gen is that if you see Xian do it, you should probably be doing it too. Or you should at least consider it, because not everyone can be Xian, but Xian does use this occasionally, I think to kind of fake from the overhead because he's in Crane, and he kind of also steps forward on both of them. So he kind of shows his back. So you can kind of mix up between those. This does 200 damage, which I think is Gen's highest damage normal. This is like landing a little combo. So that's, you know, good on wake up. This doesn't have great range. Yeah, and then, so crouching hard punch is a 24 frame startup move, which is really very slow. It does 180 damage, which is a lot. And what this is for? Well, it has different uses. Sometimes you can just throw it out there and hope that they press a button, or just like not even try to like here. Hope they press a button, and if they try to try to punish it late or try to react to the startup, they might get hit by this, and that does 180 damage. If they just misjudge the range on it, it has actually got pretty decent anti-air hitbox, but it's so slow it's not useful. You have to use it preemptively, so that's why that's nice. So it's kind of a good tool just to like maybe even pressure your opponent a little bit. Kind of, you know, just don't be afraid to throw this out sometimes, especially if it has huge range if they try to press a button. On counter hit in the corner, you can do this. I doubt you'll ever land this in a match. You probably won't ever land that in a match, but it's pretty flashy and does a lot of good damage. Then the last Crane normal is Crane crouching hard kick. I believe this is probably one of the best normal anti-airs in the game. I'd say it rivals Sakura's Crouching Fierce, although it doesn't deal with cross-ups quite as well, but you can't really wake up with this. It's also not cancelable, so I'd say it's a little bit worse than hers as a normal, but as an anti-air it's really great. If timed correctly, which isn't actually too hard, this will beat pretty much any normal jumping in the game, including Sakura's Jumping Fierce. It's not even that hard to time, but if you time it right, you can just beat it out as long as you do it a little bit early. Minus 12 on block, so you're very punishable, and minus 16 on block, minus 12 on hit. So just don't use it on the ground. One of the best things about this normal is it's 5 frames of startup, but it does 120 damage for an anti-air. That's better than Crouching Fierce. It's better than Standing Medium Punch, and that might be better than EXP. It's not better than EXP, but it's meterless. So this is a really high damage anti-air, so really want to discourage your opponent from jumping. Only problem is that it's in Crane. You're not always really walking around in Crane, so if you can either bait out a jump with it or reaction, switch stance and use it, you can really defend your space well with Gen. It's probably your best anti-air. So your best anti-air would probably be this and Crouching Fierce and Mantis, just to cover really most jumping ranges. Sweep can actually go under some jump-ins, but it actually moves you really forward, so it doesn't always work. So then your Crane focus does not have as much range as the Mantis focus. This is the Mantis focus. Oh, you do have different focuses, by the way. So this is your Mantis focus. It goes really far. Stand back here. So like Mantis focus reaches from there. Crane focus does not. It's pretty kind of, you know, I think it might be a tad faster than Mantis focus. It's not always just the best thing to do though. I'd say if you're gonna focus, stick to Mantis focus. Because I believe, although it might start up a little bit slower, be a little bit slower, it has much better range. So of course, if you are in Crane though, it's not a terrible option. And then, so the last thing in Crane is, of course your throws are the same in Crane as in Mantis. In Crane, I don't know of any Kara throw techniques or anything strange. Yeah, it's kind of not, it's not really the most useful stance. It has some very specific uses, like the Crouching Fierce and the overhead and underhead. One of the Crane's best uses, though, is if you're going to be in the air a lot, if you're jumping a lot, you should probably be jumping more in Crane. And then combo into Mantis with the stance change. So let's go over some Crane jumping normals. Of course, same, jumping light punch and jumping light kick aren't really that great. You know, they're good. They're probably good air to airs, but I don't really see these used ever. If you want to go for throw reset, same thing, or you know whatever. They're like not really even very dominant. Same with Crane jumping medium punch. Has a really strange hitbox. Hard to hit with it. I don't ever see this used. He kind of spreads his arms out, kind of silly, but. Then Crane jumping medium kick is probably one of the better crosses in the game. Has huge range, so it actually will cross up all the way from his foot back there. So really, really big cross up range. If I actually stand almost next to Ryu, oh, not quite. here's a good example. If I back throw and then jump, I can still cross up. So because of Crane's long jump arc, you can really convert off this well. So you can cross up from it well, and you can also fake cross up with Mantis jumping again, which I was talking about earlier. Then get a combo. Really, also just a huge hitbox. Hits in the front as well. Not as big front hitbox, but a huge back hitbox. Decent to kind of control airspace with because it kind of hits a lot of places. Really great jumping normal. Mostly used for mix-up though. Then your Crane jumping heavy normals would be jumping hard punch, which is probably the best jumping normal you have because it has a really great hitbox and does the most damage, and of course that's whatever combo you want to do. And then Crane jumping hard kick, it's also very good. Does more damage but scales. So as you can see, if I do jumping hard kick and then jab, I get down to 80% on the combo meter, if you can see, or the attack damage gauge. But if I do jumping fierce and then jab, I'm still at 100. So depending on the combo, you might want to use one or the other, depending on how much you want that 40 damage. You get both hits of that. So why this is good is, of course, as a double overhead. So if your some opponents won't block that, but you can then of course convert that into a full combo. Probably the best use for this though is as an air-to-air, because it does juggle. So it unfortunately does not juggle with anything. Things it juggles with are Crane Super, Crane Ultra, and the second hit of standing hard kick. I just realized I forgot to cover standing hard kick. It's a useless normal, don't ever use it. First hit whiffs. First hit with juggle is an air-to-air, although it doesn't have a good hitbox. You know, it does 120 damage if you can get both hits to connect, which it won't standing. Don't use it ever on purpose. You will get it sometimes if you're just walking around. Anyway, if you're trying to do double overhead. But this is good as air-to-air because it juggles. And why this is important is it just scores 150 damage off an air-to-air, or 100 damage. Ugh. The range is a little bit weird. It has great neutral jump, anti-air, and it combos into Crane Ultra 1, like that, and of course Crane Super as well. These are important because you can convert off you can get basically 400 damage off an air-to-air, so it can really discourage your opponent from jumping. Good to neutral jump with. I wouldn't say always use Super on it unless you really think it's going to give you a lead, because you can always get more damage from this. Yeah, so that's kind of Gen. Those are his normals. They're all very good. All his Mantis normals are useful. All the Crane normals are kind of strange, but has specific uses. Basically, Crane is better walk speed, but Crane is like a utility stance. You have very different options in that stance. Anyway, on to Crane specials. So you have Gen is a charge character in Crane, as you can see, charge back and then charge down. So the first special is a roll. This is basically useless. You can't combo with a heavy roll. You can't always combo with a heavy roll unless it's at point blank. The EX roll has different distances depending on what buttons you press. This EX one will go through projectiles, but it's still very slow. So any good opponent will be able to DP that. You cannot combo off any version of that. You can FADC it, however, into a combo, which is actually extremely difficult and not always very practical because you can always just hand FADC. You get the same combos. But that's the idea. The only thing I've ever seen this used before is maybe if you want to immediate roll at them just to catch a button or something, or you want to EX roll with like our bad projectile punch or something strange. I don't see this used really ever. The other Crane special, which is much harder which is much different and very odd, is your wall dive. So you can control the wall dive in a manner of different ways. I won't go through all of them because that would just take a lot of time. You get a free juggle afterwards. You can juggle with whatever you want as long as you can hit with it. I think you can juggle with that too. If you're gonna, you can juggle Mantis and Crane Ultra, although Mantis Ultra does more damage. Gen actually, something to keep in mind, Gen has longer charge time than most characters. You usually have to charge it a little bit extra. Of course, you usually get a setup after that. So that's a really good way to get that. This isn't overhead. So if you want to kind of mix your opponent up with it, make them not focus too much because there's focus break, or not jump too much because it has a really good air-to-air hitbox, or you know, not do whatever. The little thing I do sometimes is I do hands and I do Oga on the back, and then if they jump forward, that'll catch them. If they try to focus, it'll catch them. It'll catch backdashes and maybe some normals depending on what it is. I know that some guy players like to slide a lot, so I'll just do a short one to try to catch their slide, especially after hands. But really odd to use. Of course, you can juggle with that. That's probably the most damage you're going to get meterless. You can juggle with super, ultra. You have to delay the super a little bit. That's really, yeah, it's a strange move. One of the most popular ways to use it is to cross up with it. Oh, messed that up. Alright, this is a bit of a tricky setup. Ugh. What we have to do here is walk forward Oga. There we go. So that actually hit in the back for you, and that will cross up and grant basically the same juggle opportunities, which is a really great way to get a cross up and get a lot of good damage from it. These cross up Oga setup do not work in the corner, but you will learn different corner setups. I'm not going to go into all of them because there are a lot of them, and they're all very character specific. So if you really want to invest time into that, I know Shen does a lot of these. Shen has setups for everywhere in the screen for Oga, and he's really quite good with them. But if you want to be, you know, they're not necessary to be a good gun player, but they're definitely a really good option because they are quite hard to block and hard to see. You have to know the setup, and you can also fake the people out with it as well. In terms of punishability, Oga is fairly punishable. I mean, fairly safe, but it depends on the range. Like that right there might be punished. The drop down, the ceiling drop, is very punishable. And a note to people playing Gen players: a lot of bad Gen players, especially on ranked or whatever, will just kind of spam drop down Oga, and they don't expect people to deal with it. You can just block this by holding whatever direction you want, as long as you see it soon enough. If you hold back or forward, you will walk under it and either make it whiff or block it. And in both scenarios, you can punish it. If you are a Gen player, don't use this excessively. Just use it like it's not a terrible tool to just throw out there sometimes, but it's not great. EX Oga goes through projectiles on startup, so as you can see, until it hits the wall, it's entirely projectile invincible. It's not the greatest anti-projectile option. I'd say if you are going to do a projectile with it, though, and you're going to be over here charging, you're going to want to go to the opposite wall and then go down. That's probably the fastest way to get to them, and you get maybe like a little cheap, gimmicky cross-up. But that's not something you should rely on. Not a best use of meter, either. It doesn't really go that fast, it's not consistent. That's Oga. Let me go over Crane Super now. Crane Super is a one-frame anti-air grab thing. It's that. Oh, I missed it. It has 3 different ranges as well. As you can see, you have to range them correctly. There we go. So 320 damage, very, very good. You have your light version, which goes up. Like, directly up, basically. You have your medium punch, which kind of goes in between them. And then you have your hard punch version, which goes about 3/4 of the screen. And it starts up in 0 plus 1 frames. So what this is for, why that's important is because depending on the situation, if they're gonna safe jump you and you know it, like if you have no life left and they have like a little bit of life left and they're gonna safe jump you and then chip you out, you can wake up super and you will grab their safe jump because it's a 1-frame reversal. So that's really important. That's not the best use, but again, if they're just jumping a lot, like at that reach doing this, just you have a meter, really want to close out the match, really get that life leader, that setup, just do it. Like that's not a big problem. It has some more uses than it has some other uses. As I showed earlier, you can combo it from counter hit, crouching fierce, and crane, but you probably won't ever land that. It's just really, really good. I'd say it's sometimes worth it to save the meter for Mantis Super, just because that does so much more damage and prevents better reset opportunities. But it's very good. Definitely an underrated Super, and don't be afraid to use it. If you really need to come back, though, you're going to want to save for Mantis, but if you want to end the match or get a good life lead or get a good setup, then just do that. So I don't think Levo are ultras. Mantis Ultra. Oh, that's not Ultra. Mantis Ultra is Mantis Super without the utility. So it's 11 frames on startup. It's entirely invincible. It's very unsafe, but it does kind of just go all the way across the screen. Some characters might not be able to punish it. Well, yeah, they will be able to punish it, but don't wake up Ultra with Gen. It's really, especially Ultra 1, it's not a good option because it's so slow. Unless they like walk up and press Crouching Fierce on your wake up, it won't catch them. Like they can just jab, and the Ultra's slow enough that it won't catch them. So if your Gensugen is gonna wake up Ultra, just like walk up, jab. Like walk up, jab once. That way if they block, you still get jab pressure, and if they wake up Ultra, then you're fine. Of course, the EXDP though. Oh, I don't. Yeah, EXDP is a good reversal. You're not good problem for that either. Crane Ultra is an anti-air Ultra. It's 7 frames of startup, so it's pretty slow. You actually really have to predict jumps with this, and I'd say that you never really want to use this as an anti-air. You never want to use this because if you can predict a jump, you can just do this. You can just do that, and then come with Ultra anti-air. So that's, you know, it's not super useful. It does less damage than Mantis Ultra 1. But depending on the situation, you know, I would just say only combo from that. Also doesn't really have great reach either. It kind of has a similar hitbox to the Light Punch or Finger Super, the Light Kick. So that's Gen's Ultra 1s. I'm going to switch to Ultra 2 now and show you what those are for.
Training stage. Fists will fly at this location. Let's get started. Fight!
Alright, so Gen's Ultra 2 isn't really that great. It has some interesting uses, so this is Mantis Ultra 2. Approach you up. Quarter circle back times 2 punches. Notice it does great damage, but it does put your opponent right in front of you with a hard knockdown. So this does grant you some mix-up opportunity. Sorry, that's not relevant. It does grant you some mix-up opportunity, but it's not guaranteed damage is the problem. And there's no way to get solid damage off of it, besides if you're really confident in your mix-up game. It's not really that hard. It's hard to combo into. Depending on the character, you can combo it into EX hands from EX hands. That does not work on Ryu, so you're gonna have to test that for yourself. I believe it works in some of the wider hitbox characters, but even then, that costs a meter to land. Probably the most consistent way to land it on everyone is counter hit, standing medium punch, which you will land, and then Ultra 2. However, I wouldn't really suggest using Ultra 2. They do have to eat a mix-up though. And then Crane Ultra 2 is an Air Ultra, which is a big guy game. This hits overhead, and it's an anti-projectile Ultra.
Who will emerge a champion? Fight!
Oh, so it'll go through the Hadoukens, and it'll go through the Sonic Booms. It'll punish projectiles at the point. Depending on the... So because you have to be... If you're at full screen, it actually gets there pretty slowly. As you can see, it's a solid amount of time like, kind of driving across the screen. Which is why it's not always fantastic to use it as a projectile counter. Unless you're just neutral jumping, you see a fireball and react to it. I use this against Eve occasionally. That way, if I can jump back and anything he can do to follow it, usually, like jump back after SPD, I can just Ultra. Another more gimmicky use for this is you can jump in and try to bait a normal anti-air, and then Ultra it, it will beat the normal anti-air. Another use of Ultra is if they jump and you jump, and use Ultra. It's not anti-air. Be careful with this Ultra because it will get beaten out by DPs. especially on the ground, if you just do it and they can DP it. On occasion, it will trade, and especially in air-to-air situations with dominant jumping normals. Like, I know against Guy, it can trade against his jumping hard kick, in which case it will not do damage. The trade does not do damage. That's important. Yeah. So, also it can trade to DPs and other things. Like, it'll trade with flash kick. So it's really meant, if you're going to use it to bait out an anti-air, it has to be a normal anti-air, and you have to have a good read in that anti-air anyway. Because, of course, if you block it, it's not as unsafe as most ultras. Like, they can't focus punish it, but they could definitely Crouching Fierce with Ryu, for example. Crouching Fierce hard short you can hit. But if you hit it lower, actually, it's if you hit it at their feet, it's actually not safe, but less negative. There are some cross-up setups with this, but it's not, consistent or characters. It's always all character specific with Gen. I'd say this is an okay Ultra. These are not as good Ultra 1 because although they have more utility, you don't get the raw damage conversions that you do with the other ones. And I think Mantis Ultra is a tad bit easier to combo into. You can combo into Mantis Ultra 2 from Super. It's actually a lot more difficult because it has to hit on the first active frame. So if you actually time it late, let me show you what happens. If you time this late, that'll happen. You cannot convert up a knockdown. So that'll happen. You will not get full damage. You'll get like 19 damage, and you wasted an Ultra. So I wouldn't. It's not. You can land it from Super, but it's not always the best way. I'd say these really aren't that good. Alright, so before this episode ends, I'd like to go over some basic Gen mix-up techniques, just real briefly. One of the best things to know with Gen, and one of the most important things, is how to use your stances. So Crane, there are situations where, I'll show you the easiest one to demonstrate. If I forward throw and then dash once, so I'm at this range. If I have Mantis jump, I hit in the front. Oop, didn't dash. But if I switch to Crane, and then Crane jumping medium kick, that was a cross-up. So what you can do is you can forward throw, dash, and then use a button to cover the stance change, and then cross them up, or not cross them up. You want to just jump instantly after crouching medium punch. This is the setup I use. This applies for a lot of things too. After a sweep, not cross up. Oh, gotta time that right though. Did cross up. So that's one of the that's like the basic Gen mix-up. It's just is it Crane or Mantis? And the only actual stance chain combo you will have to learn is Gen. Is Crane jumping hard. It's great. Crane jumping medium punch into Mantis, whatever. You can yeah. So that's probably the best thing to learn. That's the only thing you need to learn. There are other stance change combos that are a lot more complicated, but none of them are practical besides that. That's something you really need to learn as a Gen player. If you can't do that, then that's a problem. You can't be doing Mantis crosses all the time, even though this does cross up. There are just certain situations where this is so much harder to read than just doing this, than walking forward a little bit, because people can see that. Yeah. So a safe jump off a forward throw is... This is a 4-frame safe jump. Of course, not a good example against Ryu, but... Double dash, Mantis jumping medium kick. Just a solid 4-frame safe jump. Use against your opponents. Definitely great. Another strange thing about Gen is that he has 1 frame of invincibility on wake up if you do not hold anything on the button. If you do not hold anything. So no directions, no blocking. You have 1 frame of invincibility. This is fairly useless, but the one use it does have is I know that in a certain matchup against Guy, a lot of guys like to do the safe jump where they do a run slide and then they neutral jump fierce, and it's like a 4-frame safe jump or something. I don't play Guy. But if you hold neutral as Gen and then grab, you can trip guard that. So they actually have to empty jump throw you or not go for that setup, because if they press fierce, they will get trip guarded throw. So they have to think of different options. Anyway, that's sort of a little bit about Gen. He's not a super complex character, but he does take a little bit more getting used to than other people. I will be back with maybe a little bit more complex setups and more abstract, footsie things next time. This will conclude my Gen tutorial for now. Thank you for watching.